Alright guys, Tactical Bit here today, and CWL Las Vegas is officially in the books. It was a fantastic event overall. There were some issues, I'll talk about these in a video a couple of days down the line, but regardless, fantastic day on Sunday, so many back and forth series, quality Call of Duty, and yeah, it was really entertaining to watch, and you can only guess who ended up winning, but we're going to go through all the goings on today. So firstly, I just want to say, only 2 days ago, I set this target of 6,000 subs by Christmas, and I'm already nearly halfway there, so if you're not subscribed already, this is now the time. Regardless, so Sunday started off after winners bracket round 1 had been played, and in round 4 of the losers bracket. So firstly, let's have a look at round 4 of losers. Lightning Pandas take down Envy, man. LP just continued to impress me. Superb performances from Dave and Alex especially were absolutely dominant this tournament. Really good to see from them, and they ended up finishing top 6, as you can see. They ended up losing to EUnited here, which, of course, as the tournament went on, we figured out is not much you're going to do against them. So top 12 from Envy, not really what I was expecting for them. I thought they'd be better than this, to be honest with you. Especially after they, kind of comfortably ran through the early part of the losers bracket. But yeah, definitely an underwhelming performance of the reigning world champions. I would kind of expect them to pick it up. Aches actually played really well on the individual level, but his team just wasn't there this event. And yeah, I don't know if they need some changes or something going forwards, but they're going to be in the CWL Pro League qualifier in January, but we'll go over when that is at the end of this video, and then I'll do more in-depth video breaking down the format in the coming days. So EG also took down Reciprocity. This is one of the issues with the event, was that we couldn't even see this game. It wasn't on stream, and it wasn't streamed on a station that any of the fans could even watch. It was basically behind the scenes. The manager was saying that he had to ask, pester the people on the desk to try and get updates of what was going on, because he had no idea, because it was behind the scenes. But anyway, EG won 3-1. Can't tell you much more than that, because we couldn't get to see any of the games. And yeah, then LP get revenge, I guess, for their European brothers. Reciprocity slightly more disappointing than I expected them to be. I thought they'd be a little bit better than this, but regardless, Red and Reciprocity, the two European teams, are kind of hybrid European now, with Dens being on that Reciprocity lineup. Two European teams we expected to do the best actually finished well, not the worst, but definitely lower than some of the other guys, as we'll get onto here. So Straight Rippin' actually took down Red as well. Straight Rippin', really solid team actually. We expected them to be good, and Red were very competitive this series, just didn't clutch up at all this entire weekend. Any map where you thought they had a chance, it was 230, 230, something like that, is a 6-5 S&D. They would always be on the losing end of it, so I guess that'll change down the line, but definitely not as impressive as I hoped they'd be. And LG take down 100 Thieves to knock 100T at the tournament. Pretty much a tragic performance from them. Top 12 from 100T coming in as considered a top 5 team, maybe top 3 to some extent based on the online performances, but didn't show any of that. No teamwork, nothing of the sort that could be defined as a good team, so didn't really rate these guys at all. So let's have a look at the semi-finals of the winners bracket here. OpTic Gaming take down EUnited 3-1. This was a crazy series actually. The first hardpoint was just unbelievable, super close. OpTic I think had a bit of a comeback. There was so many crazy hardpoints, I honestly kind of forget which one this was. And yeah, so OpTic end up winning the first hardpoint really, really close. They take the S&D. EUnited sweep them in the control 3-0. And then OpTic win the final hardpoint as well in kind of a more comfortable fashion, I think. And at this point, I thought, okay, the event's over. OpTic, EUnited were definitely their closest competitors. And damn, OpTic are going to sweep through the winners bracket now, and it's going to be super hard for EUnited to battle back and meet them in the finals. But that is what ended up happening. But the next round was just an unbelievable series between OpTic and Splyce. We'll get to that in just a second. Splyce just 3-0 Team Swede. It was quite interesting because whoever won these matches automatically qualifies for the Pro League. So if Sweden had done it, as I said yesterday, they would have been the first ever team without an organisation to qualify for the Pro League, I guess. But Splyce has just had enough of that, man. What a team this is. Accuracy, Looney, Temp, Aqua and Jerd. Just phenomenal play. And before we get to the winners finals, we'll just have a look at the losers bracket again here. So EUnited managed to deal with Lightning Pandas, knocking them out top 6, and LG take down Sween. LG looking a lot better towards this end of the tournament, beating, beat Straight Rippin' as well here. It was 3-2, a really tight series, but definitely looking better. John turned up on Sunday. Gunless is unbelievable at this game. We hadn't really seen too much of it online, but Gunless just absolutely going off. Formal did quite well as well. People were really talking about how slacked and classic they need to pick it up to some extent. I think LG is going to be a super scary team as the year goes on, but as for now, it's not. They're not quite there, you know. Anyway, winners bracket finals. OpTic versus Splyce. This was by far the series of the day. The first hard point, Splyce just wrecked OpTic. It wasn't even funny. Like, I was so surprised watching it. It was on Hacienda, and it reminded me a lot of this series from last year. I actually thought it was the winners finals, but it wasn't. This is from the first event last year, where OpTic got 3-0'd by TK in winners finals. Then they went to losers finals, and Splyce just wiped the floor with them. In the first hardpoint, it was like they beat them 250 to 60, something like that on Ardennes Forest. You might remember Tommy got that 4-piece on the 4th hill. And I thought it would, like, it kind of reminded me of that. It had shades of that, especially because it was the same organization. Completely different team. I called Splyce being my dark horses going into this event, and I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments below on how good you think these guys actually are, because, wow, I honestly think Accuracy was super underrated last year, given he had Kenny on his team, and Looney is an unbelievably underrated player. The amount of people who try and tell me that he gets carried to the championships he wins, where he's won a championship every year for like the last 3 years in Call of Duty, like, this guy adds something to a team, and he's also a phenomenal individual player, which we got to see this weekend. Jurge was unbelievably good on Sunday. Aqua also turned up another gear. And let's not forget about Temp, man. People like to hate on this guy because of having an ego, etc., etc., but he was on fire, especially this map. He started off like 22 in 8 or something like that against OpTic this map. They ended up beating them 250 to 88. Just blew them out of the park. It wasn't expected at all. I'd never seen OpTic come even close to losing a map like that. And yeah, so it happened on this occasion. And then the S&D as well goes to it. I mean, it was 5-3 to Splyce. And then OpTic popped their TAC 5, like the 200 health thing. And I thought that it'd make a lot of sense for Splyce just to save all their stuff, because the TAC 5 is basically a guaranteed round. So OpTic used theirs. They would have known, because you can see the health bars. Makes sense just to say, okay, we give up this round, then we'll pop the TAC 5 next round and just win. But they didn't do that. They tried to pop their TAC 5 and hard counter OpTic. They ended up losing it, went to a round 11, and then they still won. So yeah, Splyce got up 2-0 in the series, and then you can see what happened. So OpTic brought it back in the control, a really close map. There was a couple of rounds that Splyce had the lead advantage in kills, and in true OpTic tradition, they just brought it back and won 3-0 in that map. Map 4 of this series was one of the most unbelievable maps ever. I have no idea how OpTic pulled it off. It was on Seaside Hardpoint. They were probably down about 240, I think they were down 247 to like 187, something like that. And OpTic were on the verge of being put into losers bracket. They were 3 points away. Splyce 100% should have closed it out. But that hill at the back of Seaside, that fountain hill, is just unbelievably difficult to break. And even last year, OpTic were fantastic on their rotations. They just didn't really hold things. Whereas if you're not holding that hill, you're doing something completely wrong, because it's the easiest hill to hold I think I've ever seen in my entire life. You have like 4 lanes to watch as the defending team. One of them you have the height advantage, and then the other 3 you have the cover advantage, and they're coming through a choke point. So that hill is just ridiculously easy to hold, and OpTic end up winning the rotation. They make this crazy 250-247 comeback, and then they win the game 5. So an incredible escape from OpTic. They really should have gone to losers here. Splyce should have closed it out. Splyce really did have the better of them in that series. But the OpTic clutch factor is back, man. It seems like vintage OpTic, I'm not going to lie, from when they were dominant. So anyway, they end up getting top 3, or they end up getting top 2, even they move into the finals. And Splyce have to play EUnited from losers, as this is how things go. EUnited beat LG, and then they take down Splyce in a game 5. Really tight series again. This is fantastic to watch. Splyce kind of smothered them map 1, and then they lose another game 5. Honestly, really surprising to me, because last year, the amount of game 5s EUnited lost, and then you look at guys like Accuracy, the Iceman, Looney, Aqua, Jurge, you know, you wouldn't expect these guys particularly to be losing game 5s when it comes down to the crunch time, right? But EUnited got the better of them, and then we have the grand finals here. A 3-0 that looks relatively convincing for OpTic, and of course map 2 and 3 were relatively convincing, but map 1 defined the series. It was Absolutely unbelievable. Once again, Seaside Hardpoint, and I have to say that maybe there are some issues with this map that I could talk about in the video I do on the problems of Vegas, because damn, 236 to 120. I thought, okay, EUnited need 2 series. They 100% need this first hardpoint if they're going to win this. And they go into it, they're looking fantastic. OpTic are down, as I say, 236 to 120. OpTic start bringing it back. They hold one hill on one side of the map. They win the rotation. They use their TAC 5 in an appropriate time to break into the hardpoint and lock down that Fountain Hill. And unfortunately for EUnited, they were spawned on the other side of the map, and obviously they made some mistakes. It was a pretty embarrassing map to lose, but at the end of the day, that comeback was dominated by that Fountain Hill, and there really wasn't much EUnited could have done once they got into the hardpoint. Yes, it's possible to break, but really, if you're a competent team on the defense and they don't have any score streaks or anything like that, then damn, that is a difficult hill to get into. And OpTic managed to bring the comeback 250 to 246, was it, or 248, something like that. And wow, I just can't believe they managed to do it again. Like, the second time in a day, second time in 2 series, they played that map and made a ridiculous comeback on it. And yeah, as Momo says in this tweet here, these are the score lines with which they won in hardpoint. 250, 245, 47, 46, 38, 33, 26 over the course of the tournament. Like, just a crazy clutch factor here from OpTic, which we haven't seen all year, and of course they do end up taking home the trophy. Very well deserved from them. The dominant team online, they've transferred it to LAN. The tournament wasn't as dominant as some people may like to say. Let's not forget, in this winners final, they 100% should have gone to losers bracket if Splyce didn't throw away that map. And damn, super impressive composure from OpTic, and as soon as they won that credible comeback in the grand final, like, I knew it was all over. They kind of steamrolled EUnited on the next couple of maps, even though it was a little bit touch and go at times. So yeah, here's the photo. OpTic, after an absolutely horrible year of Call of Duty, they managed to get back to winning ways here, and Dashy is the factor, man. I'll have a look through some of the stats now. This guy got the MVP. An absolute freak of nature. What I'm so scared about is, like, this guy, when he used to play online, I always felt like he was kind of overshadowed by Illy and Simp and, like, Selly and those guys. This guy is on another level. He is playing on a higher plane of thinking. Look at these stats that JP says here. He had a 2.2 KD in search over the tournament. Like, what even is that, man? 1.36 in hardpoint, 1.37 in control. Ridiculous damage stats as well. And this is OpTic Gaming's score by game mode, 10 to 1 in hardpoint. I don't know how the hell they've managed to be 10 to 1. Like, the level of clutch this team showed this weekend. Quite interesting to see, though, because it's not like OpTic were incredibly dominant. They didn't crush all of their opponents here. And Splyce were really, really impressive, and EUnited as well. So what I'm thinking is, towards the future, though that clutch factor from OpTic Gaming, the clutch factor might stay, but surely the chances of them winning maps like that again are very, very slim. And if they do lose maps like that, what chance do these other guys actually have of winning the tournament? Because I feel like if EUnited had won that first map, we could have seen a very different series with the dynamics shifting very much indeed. And OpTic were definitely capable of losing hardpoints this tournament for sure. Their S&D was on fire. Their control was very good as well, but EUnited were also very solid at control. So it only makes things more interesting as things go forward, to be honest. Let's have a final look through the stats here. Arcitys actually tops it out in the end. Even though they got beaten 3-0 in the grand finals, this guy was, in my opinion, one of the absolute standout players of this weekend. 1.45 in respawn, what an absolute monster. Dashy was on another level, man. I'm pretty sure he's hiding a keyboard somewhere, because that flick he hit with the Tempest right at the end to close the series, where he just like 90-degree turned on the guy instantly. Like, this guy is playing on some sort of other level, man. It's unbelievable what he can do. So much fun to watch. Gunless as well was fantastic. Parasite and Temp you got to give big credit for on that Splyce team, just being absolutely dominant, and Aqua, of course, turning up on Championship Sunday, and Clayster as well. I haven't given Clayster his props by any means. because this EUnited team, they haven't got to... The last time Clay was in the Grand Finals was ESWC 2017 in Infinite Warfare, that Paris event where OpTic blew out FaZe Clan. And yeah, back in the Grand Finals here, still doesn't win a map, but you got to give credit to him because he was very professional on Twitter and he took the loss much better than he has done in the past. Seems to be loving competing and actually performed really, really well on Championship Sunday, which people have criticised him for in the past. So big ups to him. I'm looking forward to seeing if he can compete and even maybe take down OpTic later in the season. So anyway, very briefly, this is the timeline for the rest of the season. I'll go over this in more detail. The next thing we can be looking forward to is that Pro League qualifier from the top 32 teams. The format has been announced, but I'll go through that in a future video. There's no time today, and that's halfway towards the end of January before the Pro League begins. So I'll leave you guys with this picture to close the video. Thanks for all the love on the coverage of CWL Las Vegas. I'll have some more videos on similar related topics in the coming days. So thank you guys so much for watching as always, and I'll see you next time.